Coming up on All About Android, it's me, Jason Howell, Florence Ion, and Ron Richards, and we got a lot of questions. New icons? No charger and headphones with the Galaxy S30? Flow reviewing an LG Wing? A new OnePlus phone? A new XDA phone? Google Play Music going away? All these questions answered tonight on All About Android. All About Android is brought to you from LastPass Studios. You're focused on security, but are your employees? The LastPass can ensure that they are by making access and authentication seamless, whether employees are working in the office or remotely. Visit lastpass.com/twit to learn more.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This episode of All About Android is brought to you by IT Pro TV. If you're looking to expand your IT career or improve the skills of your IT team, you need IT Pro TV. Visit itpro.tv/allaboutandroid for an additional 30% off all consumer subscriptions for the lifetime of your active subscription and use code AAA30 at checkout. And by ZipRecruiter. Hiring is challenging, especially with everything else you have to consider today, but there's one place where hiring is simple, fast, and smart. That place is ZipRecruiter. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/Android. ZipRecruiter is the smartest way to hire. Hello and welcome to All About Android, episode 496, recorded on Tuesday, October 27th, 2020, your weekly source for the latest news, hardware, and apps for the Android faithful. I'm Jason Howell.
And I'm Ron Richards.
Android.
And I'm Florence Ion. Hi, guys.
'Tis the season.
You are festive. You got some jack-o'-lanterns on the top of your head.
This is all I could find on the internet at last minute. I don't have a costume this year. The baby does, but I don't. So
what's the baby? What's the baby?
So my mother bought her the costume. She's going as Wonder Woman.
That's a great costume.
We don't have a particular DC affiliation in this household, mind you. There's absolutely none. I just want to put that for the record here out loud. Okay. I'm not just saying this because Ron is my co-host and friend. But it just, it was a gift, and at the point, it's defaulted to that at this point.
Just got to go with it. It's fair. It's fair.
Look,
I understand.
All comic book characters are accepted here, right? Right?
Sure. Right? Depending which way you lean.
As long as they're not DC.
It just so happens Ron and I are cut from the same cloth. We both love Matter 2.0. Our pop culture lean is pretty much synced up, so,
Okay, well, it just shows how out of touch I am.
Show it again.
With comic book world.
There's the X-Men.
I didn't know you had that tattoo.
I did not know you had that tattoo. Either that or you just did that with Sharpie right before the show to blow our minds for Halloween.
No, I did that many, many years ago. But yeah, that's the X-Men logo. To the end.
Learned something new today. Yep. That's amazing. All right. Well, we don't have a guest this week. We're flying just the three of us today, and I'm not gonna lie. This is one of those weeks where I was looking everywhere trying to find stories to fill in here. There are some great stories in the doc. Do not get me wrong. We've got plenty to talk about. It was just one of those weeks.
It was pretty obvious when we get into the news.
Yes. Yeah, totally. Our top story is news from a couple of weeks ago, but that's okay because we never talked about it.
It's not even that, just the topic. The topic alone, I can't believe we're talking about, but it'll be fun. Let's do it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured. Let's not dance around it any longer. Let's jump into the news.
Charger always included here on Android News.
Yeah, I hope so. Better be. We'll get to that in a moment.
That. See, I love that Burke is getting into it.
I know.
This is good. I'm
happy.
Good.
That was good. And we're going to touch on that topic in a moment. First, we're going to talk about icons. That's right. Top story this week is a middle rung story from a couple of weeks ago that we never talked about on the show. But the reason that I'm bringing it up today is because I noticed in my app drawer that a bunch of logos suddenly hit my phone. Let's see here if I can show it. And a bunch of them are redesigned. So I don't know if y'all have noticed, and if not, here, I'm trying to hold it up properly. Now, I'm not saying that all of these logos are brand new here. but a lot of them are. Notably, the Gmail red envelope logo is no longer the red envelope.
Hang on before we give any opinions. Let's address the news aspect of this first.
That was Burke editorializing for those listening to the audio feed.
So basically, I went through my app drawer and I was like, these are all the Google apps. I realized that Slack is not, but it could have fooled me. Yeah. It really fits in there like a glove. So basically a bunch of these logos that we've been used to for so long. Maps, that's another one. Meet, which just looks weird and like a toy to me. I don't know. They're all getting this redesign. If you haven't gotten it on your phone, and there's actually more redesigned icons coming. If you haven't got it already on your phone, you're going to get it soon. And, it looks like, from what I understand, Google was really, just trying to unify its app logo design. Duh. That's why we're seeing this. They're pushing out these logos, at least many of them, as part of the workspace suite. And those updates, that's what I noticed, came through today. So Gmail, Calendar, Drive, Duo, Chat, although my Calendar app has not updated yet. But I don't know. Like, I get it. I get that companies have to do this. They want to unify things. Google has a ton of different apps. And, I'm sure this was a hotly contested topic in their internal meetings to be like, we need to get some unification. People are always talking about how we're in completely different, areas of the company. This could be one way to unify. Let's do it. But that multicolored ribbon style that's been applied, it's really hard for me when I look at it to really know what I'm looking at. It's almost like I have to linger longer than my eyes really want to. And I'm just curious to know what you guys think. And
I don't know. I mean, I'm no designer, nor am I a brand, expert. But it's the Google logo.
Yeah.
Right. It's the colors. Like, if you look at the Google logo, G is a G made up of yellow and green and red and blue. And so they're applying that schema across it. So I get it. I mean, they recently, I have several email domains that are using G Suite, and they rebranded that whole thing, and that's what this is part of. And it's interesting because it's like I saw a lot of people say exactly what you said, Jason, which is I can't tell what I'm tapping on. They all look the same and that sort of thing. And I beg to differ. I really? Still think they look. I still think Fit looks different than Home, looks different than Google TV, looks different than Gmail. Like, if you look at it, they look different. They're different shapes, but I do get the difference between, like, Docs was green and Docs was blue and Sheets was green, and like you had a different, kind of design schema for the different applications. Keep was yellow, right? There was all these different colors out there, so you could associate, okay, this app is this color, and I get that, but it's fine. It's fine how it is now. You'll adapt, you'll change, you'll get it.
Yeah,
it's not the end of the world, I mean, I'm more concerned with the fact that I rearranged all the apps on my laptop dock, and I realized that they're all shades of blue now. Like the app design, like the app design schema that they're doing. Like, I can't tell if they're trying to get you to tap on something else. Like, is that why Slack changed to what it is, to try to get you to like are they really fighting for our attention so much that they want you to accidentally tap on their app thinking it's another app? Because that's not a very good experience. But whatever, they redesigned. We'll move on. You still need to get a Gmail. You still know where you put the app on your phone. Like, you'll be able to figure it out.
I'm
this
sure,
could all just be fixed if Google would just enable icon packs in Android OS. It's really that easy.
Like in the Pixel launcher or in Android OS in general?
The Pixel launcher. I mean, the OnePlus launcher has it, thank God. I haven't had to look at a Google icon or anybody's icon, really. Unless I wanted to. I replace them always with something else. So,
yeah,
just an idea.
Yeah, that is true. I know
it can be done. It's there.
If you like the Pixel launcher and you want to do icon packs, you could turn to. I mean, yeah, you can't do it in the default. Yeah, like Action or Launcher
or Nova.
It allows you to do that. Yeah, so you've got a lot of options.
That's the thing is, I don't want to have to to do that. Just bake it into the OS.
I feel you.
But I actually don't. I don't know. I'm anti-icon packs because then it looks bad. Like, it just doesn't like.
But Ron, it doesn't affect you though if other people use them.
No, but the thing is that I can understand from the brand standpoint where
it's just a setting there in the settings. My only gripe is when you have to like download a launcher, then it's a different experience than what you're sort of choosing when you choose a phone. So I don't know. I like the idea of having the choice. I don't know. There's a fine balance. But we're not talking about the balance. We're talking about the icons. And they look like a bunch of Google washi tape has been overlaid over each other. That's what they look like. All right. They look like a Pinterest craft project. Okay.
Wow.
That's what it looks like.
Wow.
You see, you're not supposed to group them all together like that, Jason. That's the thing. You're doing it wrong.
Well, that's true. Okay. So then we'll go into the app drawer and, I'm sorry. My keyboard, my camera's not
the ones that start with G are all grouped together. I got Gmail, Google One, Google Pay, and Google TV all together.
What I want to understand is how this fits into the larger design paradigm. Is there something that I don't know about material that is coming, and this is just kind of foreshadowing to it? Like, I'm trying to understand, is this just a rebranding? They decided that we're going to do this whole rebranding while everybody's at home, but we're paying attention.
I don't think everyone being at home has to do with it. I think it completely has to do with the rebranding of the Google Suite into Google Workspaces. It's completely it's a unifying the design theory under the productivity apps which is essentially a B2B product.
But Microsoft has apps that are all bundled together for the enterprise and, for personal consumption, and the icons aren't all the same color scheme and style. There's disparity between them, so that I know yellow is PowerPoint. I know green is Excel. I know blue is Word. Like, why didn't Google just do that? Just stick with that. I don't know.
You know what? And I think that touches on my own personal hang up with the new logos, which I totally agree, Ron. You're absolutely right. I'm going to get used to this. Like, this is one of those, I fully realize, like, this is one of those, I'm resistant to change.
Exactly.
But, I realize that about myself.
Cloud, Yeah.
In many aspects of my life, this applies. So I'm willing to own that. But there's just an identity that I feel like I don't know that I'm ready to replace the standard Gmail logo that I've seen for literally years and years and years with an icon that looks almost identical to all of the other icons. Like, it's almost like it removes any element of personality behind the app from an icon standpoint, because it applies the same template to each of them. And I don't know. It just lacks a little character, I guess, is what
it's a little complacent. It's a little Borg. It's a little
kind of feels a little boring.
Yeah. No, it is. I mean,
it does feel a little boring.
But I don't know. It's unified. I don't know.
Whatever. Whatever. This is our top story. All right. Deal with it.
No, this is a big deal, though. People have been complaining. Okay. I have somehow gotten back together with Reddit this year, I think, because I've just been at home and I ran out of things to procrastinate with. And it's all over Reddit, like the Google subreddit, the Android subreddit. Like, people are just, what is going on here? There's too much uniformity. I can't tell between the apps.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Did the people of Reddit fear change too?
That never happens.
I shouldn't poke the bear on the Reddit folks. Please. It's okay. I understand. Change is hard. We'll get there. It's gonna be okay. It's a process. You gotta be angry, and then you gotta be resentful, and then you gotta be then you get to acceptance or denial. I forget the steps.
Right. Yeah.
But there are steps to this grief. Yeah.
Reddit is not known for being
for flexibility.
I'm just trying to say that I am on the pulse of the conversations that are happening. So
I will say that app, Jason, to your point though, after 10 plus years of the same icons, I was kind of excited to see something different. And also at the same time, icons aside, I have recently been very appreciative of the design paradigm that Google's been setting forward as they're slowly rounding out the design of all their apps and unifying the fonts and like all this sort of stuff. Like, and this is coincides with me getting the Pixel 4a. But ever since I got the Pixel 4a, I'm feeling a lot of like warmth about like, oh, I opened Google News and it looks just like Messenger and it looks just like it all kind of is working for me at the moment. So that's why I think I'm a little more accepting of the change.
Ron, okay. You know what you remind me of, Ron, right now? You remind me of when a person first watches Twin Peaks and it's just a real, I don't think it's a word I can say on air, actually, because this is a family-friendly show. But I like your perspective. It's very optimistic. I feel like I am just a little more cynical at this point.
Yeah, you remember
I co-hosted a podcast about Twin Peaks, right?
I know. Well, I sort of brought it up because of that, but also because I remember I had a conversation with somebody. I wish I could watch Twin Peaks all over again without knowing anything.
Oh God, it was so good. It was such a great. And for those of you who don't know, go to damnfinepodcast.com where you can find the lovely Twin Peaks podcast that myself and Tom Merritt did, where we rewatched and talked about every episode of Twin Peaks, including The Return, which was the new Twin Peaks, which came out like 3 years ago now, and I feel old. So, but yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah,
well,
there's an answer to one of my
just
podcasts.
Relate to you the feeling, because I too felt that way when I entered the world of Pixel, and I guess now I don't know. Maybe I've been on OnePlus.
Now it's old news. Old news to Flo.
I don't know.
All right.
Well,
shall we move on?
We've talked to the icons to death. Yes.
Yeah. So Jason, when you were on vacation 2 weeks ago, we had our good friend Juan Bagnell on the show, and we had a very heated conversation about the fact that the new iPhone 12 lineup is shipping with no charger, no earbuds in the box. Like, and Jason, I don't know if you watched the show, but it got pretty heated. Juan felt very passionate about this topic, and the pseudo environmentalism of Apple when it's actually not. It was a great conversation. So I definitely go back to episode 494 to watch that. But it was very easy to throw stones at Apple because that's not happening in our world. But hold the phone. Hold the phone. Samsung is looking to do the same, according to a report from Korea. There was an early report back in July that said the exact same thing, that the Galaxy S30, currently rumored to launch in January 2021, would only have the phone and a SIM eject tool in the box. No charger, no earbuds, no other accessories. Samsung's Facebook page poked fun at Apple for the lack of the charger in the box, but Samsung also mocked Apple when they got rid of the headphone jack. So you can't really judge Samsung by their social media team.
No.
And so, yeah, but it looks like in an effort to limit waste, Samsung might be jumping on the bandwagon. So we all heard where Flo and I and Juan netted out on this. But Jason, how do you feel about that change? Do you think that it is a positive thing to not include the earbuds and the charger because we all have them lying around? Or do you think it's a faux bit of environmentalism that really is just kind of thinly veiled layer of poor business practice? So.
Man, you summarized both those sides really well.
Thank you.
I don't know. I think I'm a little cynical on it. I think I feel like I understand the green footprint aspects of it, but man, there's just something that tells me that's less like that's a convenient also. But the flip side of that is that, oh, by the way, we're saving on cost, and we have to make room for these phones that suddenly cost more because there's 5G baked into them. And what's the best way to do this? Hey, why are we offering all this stuff that we could be charging for? I don't know. I'm a little cynical on it, but at the same time, like, I totally get it, because I was literally just last weekend cleaning out my bin of cords, cables, and charging bricks that's downstairs in the den, and it's just ridiculous. Like, and I realize, like, I'm kind of an outlier, as we all are on this show, and probably many listeners and fans of this show, because we just, we go through a lot of phones, and if every phone comes with a power brick and everything, you really do have to ask, like, do I really need another one of these? Like, it's going to go into a drawer. At this point, all of the plugs that have to have one of these to make my life convenient already do. And so it is wasteful. So I think I'm conflicted as far as that's concerned. Do I think that these companies are doing it purely from the green standpoint? No, but it's a nice byproduct, I suppose. I don't know. That's where I stand.
I don't know. Flo, have you changed your position since 2 weeks ago?
I mean, thinking about the giant pile of Samsung phones that have been used over the last 20 years. Yeah, I mean, in theory, it's a good idea for the environment, but is that going to stop all the accessory manufacturers that are making these like out by the dozen? Maybe it helps a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I don't think it's akin to the headphone jack.
No, it's definitely not akin to the headphone jack. Yeah. That's just Samsung making fun of something, then doing the same thing afterwards, right? Which,
Yeah.
Which, what? Samsung's not the only company to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
OnePlus is guilty of that as well.
Aren't we over that, by the way? Like, I just feel like that doesn't work in 2020 social media.
What's that? One company calling out another company for doing
just
a thing?
Yeah, just like the calling out, let's get petty. I don't know. Maybe I'm giving 2020 too much credit, but
here's the thing. People on social media love that because whenever I say that watching another industry, watching the theme park industry and watching the shade the social media team at Universal throws in any direction. Like when there are a lot of, if you've been following the news, there's a lot of hubbub about the state of California and COVID restrictions and the governor limiting when theme parks can reopen. And so Universal and Disneyland have all been affected by it. And they came out with these kind of ridiculous guidelines for the theme parks. And Universal then promptly tweeted, "I'm sorry, we're only responding to 20% of our tweets we get." They are so in it and willing to make that joke, and the audience eats it up. If you're pro that brand, they eat it up. And so like a Samsung fan, seeing them make fun of Apple for something, you're going to love that. Right. So like, I get it. I agree with you, Flo. Like, I don't like it. I don't think it's a good way to go about it, but it definitely gets you that immediate gratification from your loyal followers. So,
yeah. And there's someone in that company whose job or whose collective job it is to get as much engagement on these news items as possible, and that's a really great way to do it. Yeah.
So, I mean, look at us. We just spent a couple minutes
totally
watching it. So.
We're all working on that engagement, aren't we? All right. That was the top news, folks. Those two stories. We're going to take a break, then we're going to come back, and you're going to get a full review of the Wing. The LG Wing. Flo's had it for the last week and playing around with it, and she has thoughts. So we're going to check in with Flo on that. But first, this episode of All About Android is brought to you by IT Pro TV. If you're interested in an IT career, but maybe you're not sure where to start, well, IT Pro TV is your one-stop shop. It's literally where you should start looking. You're just going to find a valuable education online for IT. It's just amazing. IT Pro TV is the best online IT education platform where you can learn about IT for every kind of field. So government managed services, healthcare, education, finance, insurance, IT, and a whole bunch more. So one of the best things about IT Pro TV is the fact that they make learning IT fun. And they make it really entertaining. So you'll be able to easily retain all of that knowledge and you're going to apply it in real life on the job. That's the beauty of it. They have over 5,800 hours of IT training and 375 combined certifications, so you're getting the best IT education around. And if you're a manager who's looking to develop the skills of your IT team, IT Pro TV is just as valuable to you. They actually have every vendor and skill that you need for your IT team training. And are the only official video training for CompTIA. Microsoft IT training, Cisco training, Linux training, Apple training, security, cloud, and so much more. So you can track your team's results. You can prove the ROI of your training spend with the Pro Portal. And this is where you can manage your seats. You can assign and unassign team members, access monthly usage reports. You can see metrics like logins, who's logging in, who's viewing, the amount of time that they're viewing, the courses that they've viewed, tracks completed, and so much more. You can easily manage your team. So manage subsets of users, group them together or teams by providing them with customized assignments, of course, monitoring their progress along the way, reporting on usage of the platform, that sort of stuff. Assignments can be full courses or and including individual episodes within courses. So you can really devise this yourself. And check out their podcast, Technado, with Don Pizzette, featuring industry guests and IT news recaps for a deeper dive into the IT realm. October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and IT Pro TV has hundreds of hours of cybersecurity training. It really is a great time to start a career in the industry with IT Pro TV. So whether you're looking to dive into a new IT field or you're expanding the skills of your IT team, IT Pro TV is exactly what you need. Go to itpro.tv/allaboutandroid. Make sure and use code AAA30 and you'll receive 30% off all consumer subscriptions. That's itpro.tv/allaboutandroid and use code AAA30. And you'll get that additional 30% off. And that's for the lifetime of your active subscription. IT Pro TV, build or expand your IT career and enjoy the journey. And we thank them for their continued support of All About Android. It's always great to see your name in the show. All right. And so we've got a couple of hardware blocks. This first one, though, is dedicated to the LG Wing because it's just such a crazy, interesting device. So let's jump into hardware. All right, Flo, what you got?
What have I got? I've got this thing, the Wing. Oh, my goodness. It's quite bright for the show right now. So I'm actually realizing that I'm probably going to have to turn down the brightness. So y'all can see it a little better.
Have you taken off with the Wing?
I have not. I have not.
Is that a dad joke, Jason?
Yeah, I think that qualifies. We were talking about dad jokes earlier before the show, and I was questioning whether Ron actually cracks them. And when he does, is he proud of them?
I would say yes,
pretty
yes,
proud
and
of
yes. yes. So.
There we go.
Sorry, I was flying. I just want to give you guys a closer look at the LG Wing for those who are watching the video feed. As you can see,
that is just a funky looking
Maybe
device.
You can see this. There's just like this pattern on the back, but the screen itself that's on the front, it feels kind of flimsy. I want to get into that a little bit more. But first, I would love to switch cameras if you'll allow me so that I can give you a little more of a show and tell while I walk you through this.
So for those who are tuning in this week, last week, Flo unboxed the LG Wing. And we were all very excited to see it because it is a phone that I have been hotly anticipating because it is a bananas design. And so she unboxed it and she's had a week to play with it. And we're really looking forward to hearing what she thinks of it, whether or not the bananas design is functional in a way that we just haven't realized yet. And LG is ahead of their time and this is the new future of phones. Or is it a gimmick that will be shut down in a year and a half or less than?
So I'm going to do my best to try and do a slight show and tell. At least I will keep the camera on the phone while I tell you about this very special phone. So I will tell you something. The LG Wing, it certainly is something. It's certainly something different, but I don't mean in the way that you would think a folding phone is different. A folding phone has some familiarity to it. You expand it out. It works like a tablet. You have that instinct to use it like a tablet. The LG Wing, it's got this T shape, which is cool. And as you can see, it looks very cool when it has a wallpaper on it. You can sort of set up the software to cut up the wallpaper. It looks good from far away, but it is a little confusing when you actually get into it and start to use it. And actually, I'm going to show you this funny thing right here. This is how you use the fingerprint sensor when it's in what's called swivel mode. So it still stays there on the side, obviously, because it's in the screen. So it's not moving places. But I can't tell you how many times I instinctually tried to unlock the phone in this mode with the fingerprint sensor down on the secondary screen. It's just little things like this that remind me that like you have to think about this phone in a different way when you're using it. So this is a dual screen device, but you're getting a little less screen than you would with like an LG Velvet or the V60 with their second screen accessory. The main screen here on top is a 6.8 inch OLED display, and then the secondary is 3.9 inches. There have been some reports of like slightly different coloring between the two that apparently some people have noticed, but I haven't really noticed with whatever I've been using. But that's just something to take into consideration. Now, you can take advantage of this setup with apps, I should say, with the apps that work in landscape mode. So up here it has like its own, on the main display, I guess, it has its own little, what's that called? Spotlight carousel that they have, they had in iTunes. I think it's called Spotlight. And so you can kind of pin different apps that you like to use in landscape mode. And I had to go into the settings and set it up so that I could have an app drawer on this screen when it's in swivel mode, which is what this is called. It was really confusing to know like what apps I could use and when. So I just kind of dove in and started to launch things. I noticed that the best way to use the phone in this T-shaped swivel mode is to use the top part as the main screen, which can be kind of hard to do when you're cradling it. I'm not cradling it on the camera right now because of the way my camera is set up, but just trust me that it's a little weird. I'm going to do this upside down.
Is it just because that bottom display is so squatty and kind of
the bottom display is so squatty. The way I'm holding it now, remember I grew up in the era of the T-Mobile Sidekick and other sort of QWERTY phones that came out at the time with full-blown keyboards. And so thank you, Burke, for changing around the
there you go.
the video.
Perfect.
And so I grew up kind of with this mechanism of having my two thumbs, using that to type, using that to scroll along. You can kind of do that with this bottom screen. There's an LG Touch. It turns the bottom screen into a trackpad. And then you have an arrow in the main primary top screen.
Okay.
So that's fun.
It's amazing.
That's fun to do. Amazing. Look at that. I can even, it's wild and silly. I don't know that I like it that way. I do think it's kind of cool when you do stuff like launch Google TV at the top and then, you're like going, into your main app that's kind of helping you watch something on the top. And then on the bottom, I don't know. I'm going to go to the Google app, and I'm going to look up the people that I'm, that are in the TV shows and movies that I'm scrolling through. So those are kind of the fantasy idea of how you would use this phone. But then when it comes to like real life usage of this phone, it's a little more complicated than that. There are apps that I'm not going to launch into just because of like privacy. Instagram, for instance, I wanted to go into it and use the gimbal mode. That's the other thing that LG was really pushing with this phone is, it does all of this like cool camera stuff. All right, so you can go and you can do this gimbal mode. The bottom of the screen turns into sort of like this control panel for the camera. I will get into the cameras in just a bit, but for now, the gimbal mode, there's 3 different point of views that you can launch into. So there's first person view mode. So that's really good if you're like getting into somebody's face. Like I was using that when I was filming my daughter. Or you can get into pan follow mode. I was using that when I was kind of panning along like my keyboards. It, follows along with where the phone is going. I thought it was pretty intuitive. And then there's follow mode, which I'm still kind of figuring out what that's for. And because I'm not a videographer, I don't quite know. But I will say that this helpful little, what would you call this? A compass,
like an eyeball
of
or
sorts?
Something? Or,
yeah, there's a helpful little compass eyeball of sorts that kind of lets you know where your levels are at as you're holding the device. It takes really nice video, and I'll actually show off some video in just a little bit for the video watchers. But what I didn't like is that this is all you can do in this camera app. You can only use these few modes. So there's a dual recording mode that is,
front and back.
Make your own little MTV moment. Cool. There's also like picture in picture if you wanted to do that. Again, I feel like this would be mostly useful for just social media purposes. There's time lapse. So theoretically, you could put this in a smartphone camera tripod of sorts. I found this bottom part to actually be pretty stable inside of one of those like springy camera mounts. I still don't really feel super comfortable putting it in the mount in the car, though. So that's just kind of something to pay attention to. And I'll tell you something else later, too. So that was the idea behind this time-lapse mode. And then there's a slow-mo mode. So some helpful video modes, but this is all you can do in the camera app in this mode. You can take photos with this little shutter button in the bottom right corner of the camera app, but the photos that come out in this mode are, I think because it's defaulting to the ultra wide lenses, because that's what it uses for the gimbal mode. It's getting the resolution from those cameras instead of the main camera, which I think we can talk about now, Burke, if you wanted to go ahead and just launch into that the little Google Drive that I gave you. So here we have a 78-degree 64 megapixel camera with optical image stabilization, and then two ultra-wide cameras, a 117-degree 13 megapixel and a 120-degree 12 megapixel. Those two ultra-wide cameras that kind of piggyback off of each other to really help with the gimbal mode. And again, I liked the gimbal mode, but it wasn't... Beyond that, I didn't find much use for it. And the photos that this phone takes are great, but you can only take them in regular phone mode. Not even inside a third-party app can you use the gimbal mode. So I would go into Instagram, for instance. There's no landscape mode there, and I would have to immediately flip the phone back into regular mode just so that I can go back to scrolling through Instagram. I was really bummed about that because there's this mechanism that comes up. Let's say you're inside, I don't know, anywhere there's a text box. So I'm just going to go ahead and, oh, I forgot I switched keyboard apps. I'm sorry. This is ruining the demo. Arg. Sorry, guys. Now I'm tripped up over this. Someone...
Was it a keyboard on the bottom, or what did it show?
Yeah, it's a keyboard on the bottom, but it's only in the LG keyboard app. And
yeah.
I'm so sorry about that, guys.
And I had heard that keyboard wasn't that great to begin with.
That's my whole thing about this phone. Not my whole thing, but whatever. But like and that's why I've asked developers about this and stuff like that. Is that how is LG making this work with the OS? And and we talked about this last week. At what point is it worthwhile for other developers to accommodate this kind of wacky approach? I would just worry that a lot of this stuff really only works best when it's optimized for this type of display. And I got to imagine that LG and their native apps are the only ones that are actually doing that, right?
Yeah, there is this weird sort of, it's not weird, I should say. They try and help you out to get usage out of this phone by letting you sort of tag team two apps at a time. One that I really like to use was the one that I mentioned, the Google TV with the Google on the bottom. I tried to do something silly. I tried to do Android Auto and Google Maps at the same time just because they were showing off that driving mode. But it will not let you do two instances of maps at the same time, which makes sense. Yeah. But then again, this whole mounting situation, it just feels like such a very special use case. And for the most part, like I would go inside apps and I would just feel really frustrated that I couldn't use the second screen to at least type a little more comfortably. Like not even in Instagram, where I was hoping to like answer some messages and I couldn't use the LG keyboard to do that. So there's a lot of quirks about it that kind of negate the other things it has going for it. Like it's got a Snapdragon 765G, so this is a 5G capable phone. As I mentioned, it has really great cameras on the back. It's got these 3 lenses that work really well in tandem. But again, you can see how many fingerprints. This is just from me handling it here on video.
I have heard it is thirsty for fingerprints. Yeah.
And also, guys, it's kind of a hefty phone. It's kind of hefty when it's just used on its own. It makes it very hard to wield it one-handed without being in that swivel mode. I also found the software to be really limited in what I could customize between the swivel mode and the regular mode. And so it's like, why do I have this capability if I don't really have much control over it? I don't really have use for it in other third-party apps. So this is just kind of something to think about with this particular device. Oh, there is that pop-up camera, which we were talking about last week, but because the phone wasn't on.
Oh, there it is.
It's very loud. Let me get close to the mic, see if you can hear it. Let's see. Did you hear that at all?
Oh, yeah.
You did?
Yeah, it's a B sharp, or no, I don't know.
Oh, you didn't hear it? Okay, that's a bummer.
No, we heard it. Oh,
you did? Okay. Yeah, it's, there's just little quirks about this phone that doesn't make it seem like an over $1,000 device.
Yeah.
I'm still sort of struggling to understand who the demographic is for this, because I feel like if it's young kids, they're using what they have already. I don't think that they're going to go out and buy this phone just for this, the sheer idea of being a creative or something of the sort, or just because there's a gimbal mode, which, by the way, is not even a mechanical gimbal mode. Like I mentioned, it relies electronically on those ultra wide lenses to sort of stabilize itself. So there's a lot of first gen magic happening here, we should say.
Yeah, and it's important to point out that this was launched under LG's Explorer project, which is really kind of an experimental wing as it is, where they're kind of playing around with ideas. So, to kind of address your question as far as like who this is for and how many they're going to sell, I think at the end of the day, I'm not certain that LG released this with the thought that it's going to move millions and millions of these devices, but they are experimenting, which I totally applaud any smartphone company that does something different and experiments, and not only experiments, but puts it out in the market to see how it does. Because if they sell more than whatever I'm assuming is kind of like their modest targets, then maybe that encourages them to develop the idea further and address some of these things. And maybe there ends up being a wing too.
I'm right there with you, Jason. I don't think I don't think it's realistic to expect this to be the next sidekick or next, kind of paradigm changing phone type thing. But I like that when we said it last week when you unboxed it, I like that they're trying. I like that they're doing something different. Right now innovation in Android is purely just foldables, and that shouldn't be the case. And if this leads to some sort of, development that leads to another type of phone paradigm or another type of thing you could do with the technology, then great. This is how you iterate and you evolve with design. So I think LG should be applauded. It's ridiculous, but so was the modular phone that they tried, and so I love it. So please, LG, don't stop this discovery. I love it. So
they won't. I think my main frustration is that I see like a lot of innovation coming forward, but I really wish just someone take it a little further. I mean, they are taking it seriously, but maybe focus. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Just stop trying to go after the kids. They've already chosen. I don't know. It just feels like make it more than just a phone for a special niche case, because that's what this feels like. It just feels. It feels like the last couple of LG launches have been very like focused around creators. We want to give things to creators. Like we want to give things to these people who really want to live out of the box. And like, I get it, but is that really helping? And is that what people really want?
All good questions.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yep. Interesting. So then, the at the end of this segment, do you recommend in any way, or are you kind of like, yeah, maybe wait for a Wing 2, or you got to know that you're the person that would want to buy this? Like as a consumer, we already know whether this phone speaks to us or not. Like, what's your recommendation there?
I have a pal who he loves LG phones, and he's always had an LG phone. And he asked me recently, like, which of the three that I would suggest of these. I think we're talking about the LG V60, the LG Velvet, and then this is the LG Wing. So of those three phones, which are available here in the US, I would suggest the V60 just because of its like overall, it's a great like run-of-the-mill phone with a great camera system. This also has a really great camera system, but this whole situation with the heft and with the fact that you can't really take photographs when you're in that T swivel mode, you can only do it like this. It's just kind of like, what are you paying for? You really have to want that swivelly sort of look and feel. Otherwise, the LG Velvet is, another great LG device, and I think that one's a little bit cheaper than the V60, and you can still get a second screen situation with those other two phones. So if the second screen is really what you want, just go for the extra case.
And worth pointing out that internally, from my understanding, this and the LG Velvet are very similar on the inside. Yes. So you truly are paying more for the swivel.
Yeah.
And the gimbal or whatever.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So Flo, up against the wall, Flo, thumbs up, thumbs down.
I'm going to give it a thumb in the middle.
I knew it.
Is that okay? Because I think it's a necessary launch from LG's part, just for like the industry. We need to have this in the ether, but like for the consumer, for a person going out to buy a phone, there are two other perfectly fine LG phones already available. So.
Yeah.
All right. Good to know.
Fair enough. All right. Thank you, Flo, for your LG Wing review.
All right. And with that, we are going to thank our next sponsor of the evening. This episode of All About Android is brought to you by ZipRecruiter. And listen, this year has been crazy. The one thing that we're, as we're winding down and realizing that businesses have had to be flexible this year, from working remotely to pivoting your business models for long-term survival and growth. Restaurants are moving their dining locations and adding takeout and catering and curbside pickup and all this sort of stuff. Some consumer product goods companies have shifted their focus more on surface cleaners, and major retailers are now selling face masks and other supplies and things like that. If you're in charge of hiring for your business, these pivots have made your job even more challenging. Thankfully, there's one place you can count on to make hiring faster and easier, and that's ZipRecruiter.com/Android. ZipRecruiter's technology finds people with the right experience for your job and actively invites them to apply. It's no wonder that 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day and then get more employees. That's how it works. So see for yourself. Right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/Android. That's ZipRecruiter.com/ANDROID. Let ZipRecruiter take hiring off your plate. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/Android. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And we thank ZipRecruiter for being so awesome, helping us find great employees, and sponsoring this episode.
Thank you, ZipRecruiter. All right, we're staying in the hardware realm for a couple of news stories. Ron, you got the first one.
I do.
Oh, okay.
After
Fine.
This music, after
we'll
this
play
lack
a music.
of music.
Yes. After this this quiet bumper.
So we've been enjoying the roller coaster that is OnePlus for many, many years now, and this year it's been no different with the release of the OnePlus Nord line. And a lot of speculation was, after the Nord was announced, are they going to bring it to the U.S.? Are they not? Well, it looks like they are bringing a Nord-like device to the U.S. The OnePlus Nord N10 5G was announced yesterday by OnePlus, and what that gives you is a 6.49-inch 1080p 90 hertz LCD display battery running on a Snapdragon 690, which is somewhat comparable to the 765G in the Nord, give or take. It's got 6 gig of RAM, 28 gig of storage, and a 4,300 milliamp battery. It's got 4 rear cameras, 64 megapixel main, an 8 megapixel wide, a 2 megapixel macro, and a 2 megapixel monochrome. It's got a rear fingerprint sensor. It's got a headphone jack. And it launches with Android 10, not Android 11. And you're going to pick this little sucker up in the UK for the price tag of £329. And no US price has been released yet. But if you convert the pounds to dollars, that's $427. So a sub $500 phone. And that converted price is actually more than the $350 Pixel 4a, so a little more expensive than the Pixel 4a, which I feel like has set the bar in terms of price point for that mid-range phone now. But basically, it answers the question of whether or not OnePlus is going to come down from the flagship to the mid-range phone. But it does bring up the other question, which is that how do we feel about this like onslaught of devices from OnePlus recently? Like, what do you guys think? Is the Nord one step too far?
I mean, I could speak having reviewed the Nord. I thought the Nord was a fantastic phone. Like, I was really impressed by it. So I don't think that the fact that we have a Nord and that there is a Nord Spawn, maybe that's what we should call this, Nord Spawn, is coming to the US. Like, I remember when I reviewed the Nord saying, like, I wish we had this in the US. So here you go. Here is a Nord-like device coming to the US. But I do think that there's some meat there as far as the OnePlus brand being pretty manicured and tailored and honed in for the last however many years. And they broadened out a little bit. But now suddenly we're getting a lot of devices in the OnePlus brand. And I wonder, like, I totally get it. OnePlus wants to grow and they want to become a more mainstream phone company. But I wonder what that does to the brand because up until now, I feel like, at least from my own personal perspective, I pay attention when OnePlus has a device out. And part of the reason for that is because they're less frequent on their releases. And when they do release, they release something that's worth looking at. And I wonder if, as these devices start coming out more and more, if complacency starts to set in a little bit to the attention that is paid to OnePlus, and if that hurts them, or maybe it helps them because they're a lot more ubiquitous. So I'm not sure what it's going to do to the brand, but I'm very curious to see how it plays out.
And Flo, where do you stand on the Nord?
I'm just wondering if maybe that's why Carl Pei is no longer on OnePlus.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder that too.
I feel like that's a very, just from what I've studied of him over the years, I feel like that what Jason was describing is the antithesis of what OnePlus was supposed to be. Because OnePlus was started as the anti-Samsung brand, the anti-establishment, so to speak. And now the idea of it becoming a commodity, that's very, you're approaching Motorola territory there, if you know what I mean.
But guess what? What you just described is shareholder value and success.
Yeah, it's all exactly. It's all dollar signs at the end, isn't it?
So let's keep in mind that OnePlus isn't art, right?
Yeah,
like this is
true.
How dare you tell me that smartphones are not art and that I can't regard them as such and that they can't just be put in a museum for me to pay money and look at them?
They are commodities. They are tools. They want to sell more devices. So, like, I find it laughable to think that anyone at a company, Carl Pei included, would object to success or object to like diversification or increasing the product line or anything like that. I don't know. It's like OnePlus was a boutique phone manufacturer because they were small and they were an upstart.
Right.
Right. Their goal is to be Samsung. They're absolutely their goal.
Yeah.
Financially, their goal is to be Samsung, and that goal can only be obtained through absolute crushing domination over the market.
Saturation, yeah, totally.
Which is exactly how Samsung's gotten this far. I mean, it doesn't matter what end of the spectrum you're on, low end, mid-range, high end, you've got everything from Samsung like within that lineup. And oh boy. Well, good for OnePlus for getting to this place, I guess. We shouldn't overlook that.
Yeah. 2020 has a lot of downsides to it. But for OnePlus, 2020 is a pretty darn good year. It really seems to be the year that OnePlus is realizing, or at least capitalizing on, their hard work of previous years to be like, you know what, now's the time where we can afford to have devices in multiple categories and different devices going to different regions that are tailored to be there instead of here for whatever reason. Like before, it was just like we had a couple of devices and we tried to get them everywhere we possibly could. Now they're in a powerful position to be pickier and choosier about that. And so it's been a pretty good year for OnePlus. We'll see. What I'm curious to see is, a year from now, will we look back and be like, that was these were all good changes and we still enjoy the brand as much as we used to? Or will my perspective, from my own perspective, will it water down because of this and be like, it's less special? And what does that do to the perception of the brand going forward as a result? So
it's possible, guys, I hate to say this, but it's possible we may be the only people that notice that.
Yeah, I know. Well, absolutely.
Yeah,
totally.
It's true.
Absolutely true.
That's a good point.
Yep. Very good point.
Wacky.
All right. What was that? I missed that laugh.
He said wacky.
I said wacky. That's all.
Wacky. Well, how about this? We've got another wacky device to talk about. Our friends over at XDA Developers, they just launched a phone. Well, it's a phone in collaboration with the FX Tech people, also friends of the show, who we had on. If you remember episode 420, we had Adrian Limao Ching, who's the co-founder of FX. Sorry, I suddenly lost my train of thought. FX Tech, there we go. This FX Pro1-X, FX Tech Pro1-X, there we go. It's based off the Pro 1 that was launched last year. It's a QWERTY keyboard design, similar to what we saw last year. The Pro1-X, what this does that's really interesting is it actually can run 3 different OSs, essentially. It can do Lineage OS, which is a side shoot of Android. If you remember, well, of course you do, CyanogenMod of days of yore. Lineage OS is kind of like emerged from the ashes of CyanogenMod, and so this device can ship with Lineage OS out of the box. You can also get this device working with vanilla Android, of course, but then also Ubuntu Touch OS, which is Linux, and of course the Linux folks are going to be really excited about this on a device like this. Now, here is kind of let's say the downside. If there was a downside to look at this from the everyday consumer perspective, it's the fact that it's running a Snapdragon 835. And you can't see that, or at least rather, we can't see that. And I'm sure I'm speaking for you too, but I imagine you're probably in the same category as me. It's impossible for me to look at that and be like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. Like 835 is like, when did that come out? That was gosh, what year was that? That was 2017. So the Snapdragon 835 was the top of the line Snapdragon processor in 2017. This device doesn't ship until 2021. No.
Jason, it was released. It was announced in November 2016. It came out in 2017.
I'm sorry. Look how slow she's typing on that keyboard. Did you see that? Because that's what happens when you have nails. Okay.
All right.
This is what I need people to understand. Just off topic. This is what I've been dealing with for years. So thank you.
Fair enough.
Sorry. I derailed.
So I see the 835. I see the nails, and I'm like, what the heck's going on here? 8 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of storage, 3,200 milliamp hour battery. It does have an HDMI out port, so that would be useful for driving an external display, maybe routing Ubuntu Touch.
Hey guys, good to see you at work. Did you have a nice weekend? Hold on, let me plug in my smartphone into my monitor that the company gave me, so I can sit down and answer my emails.
Well, Samsung's doing it, right? Not the only time we've seen this. DeX is a thing. I'm still kind of on the fence as far as like whether it's a great idea.
Hey guys, nice to see you at work. Let me put my Samsung device into my proprietary dock.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly.
I'm role playing. Don't mind me.
But you know what? But at the same time, there are people that want that, and there are people that want a mobile phone with Linux, right? Running Ubuntu Touch. Like they would be very excited about that.
Crew really enjoying this the same way that I enjoy a Bluetooth connected Tamagotchi that I can hack. So I understand this desire.
Totally. $899 via Indiegogo. That's assuming that you don't get in on the early bird, because it's crowdfunded, or at least it's on Indiegogo. I don't know if it's entirely crowdfunded, but I can't remember what the lower price is. But if you're buying this like MSRP, from what I understand, it's $899. $899 is a little expensive for technology on the inside. That is dated. That is at the time once this releases. I mean, like I said, that 835 is going to be 4 years old by the time it releases, let alone 2 years from that date. XDA editor-in-chief Michelle Rahman, and friend of the show, of course, pointed out that Android forums are, definitely landing negatively on this device, as I've seen a lot of negative talk on Twitter and stuff today. Linux forums are pretty positive on it. And that, I think, is his point. It's like, look, this is not the phone for everyone. But this is a phone that there is a category of people that are going to be psyched that we're doing this. And that's who we're making it for.
It's not for the Android faithful. It's for seriously, it's for the tinkerers.
Yes.
It's for the folks who really, because I see these devices all over, not just this Android forum, but just referencing the Tamagotchi I brought up recently. There's like little virtual pets that you can buy and like program yourself. And people will pay hundreds of dollars for that just because it's a hobby. And so I could really see this being a hobbyist phone. And I feel like for XDA, that's very on brand. And that for their community is, if people want to buy this and throw money at it, like why not indulge the fan community in something that they can all commune around? So you have people building apps for it, building APIs. So that's exciting. And kind of one of the reasons I think that we truly deep down love Android, because we know that like this at the core of it all, like this is why we're here. So
the fact that this could happen, the fact that this exists is testament to everything on this. This, I think it's really, really cool. I think it's awesome. I don't know if it's one I would choose or one I would want to use, but like that's so neat. It's definitely falls in the neat category. So. And not like the Kevin Costner telling Madonna that her show was neat. Like it's truly like, of course the Linux heads are going to love this. And it's like, and it shows what can be done. Imagine what the Pro1-X is going to be like, right? Going back to that, iteration with LG and all that sort of stuff. It gets a better processor and it handles the switch between OSs better, whatever the complaint, the criticism, they made something. People criticizing it haven't made anything. So that's,
Yeah, fair enough. I should also mention Wade County in chat says, just looked it up. The Snapdragon 835 is kind of like a 730 in terms of performance. And that's worth considering as well, right? Like a top of the line 4 years ago processor. Like what does that compare to now? 730. We're talking a lot on this show about the 735G that's loaded in a lot of current phones. So when you start to kind of, take a look, I'm sure there are a lot of differences in there when you look closely, but putting it that way kind of helps bring it into a little bit more perspective. If this phone had been released or announced with, let's say, a 735G, it would be a different story. If it had been released with a 730, would it have been a different story? If they truly are very similar in performance, maybe so. But still, then you get back to the $899 and you're like, okay, but that's still a pretty expensive device. Mm-hmm. You are getting the fold-out keyboard. There are trade-offs that I'm sure are the reason why it's more expensive, but still just on paper, that's a lot of dough to spend. But for the right person, it's the right phone. It's what they're looking for. Mm-hmm. So anyways, good on you. You made a phone. Apparently they had been saying that they wanted to make a phone for quite a while, and Here you go. You did it with the in collaboration with FX Tech. And hey, I've never made a phone before, so congratulations. That's pretty awesome.
Same thing. I've never made a phone.
Yeah. Have you?
Not even out of play.
I've never made a phone.
AAA at twit.tv if you've ever made a phone. All right. Let's talk a little bit about an app. One app. We'll do it right now. Because we didn't have any music. There you go, Flo. You got it.
Yeah, I've got it. But you know what? I'm not happy that I have to deliver this news. Google Play Music is finally finished.
Don't play the music yet because I'm gonna challenge this. Yeah, because I still have it. It's not dead.
It's dead for some.
Well, Flo,
Halloween.
Give the story, and then we can tear it apart. So
okay, fine. It's not officially dead, but the ghost of it continues to live on some phones. So some users have been reporting of sunsetted Google Play Music apps. They open the Google Play Music app and they see a splash screen with a Google Play Music logo that then morphs, sadly, into the YouTube Music logo.
That's gotta be harsh.
Yeah, exactly. It then lets them know that Google Play Music is no longer available and then offers up information on transferring their library over or deleting their stored library. Now, if this happens to you, the only way that you can sort of roll it back is to revert to an old version of Google Play Music, thanks to the, APKs out there. Shout out to APK Mirror. But that's unlikely to stick around for long. So music.google.com is a web client that was associated with Google Play Music. And that's also kind of seeing some inconsistencies for users. So if you're still kind of holding on as much as you can, I don't know how much longer they'll let you hold on. I don't.
Not much longer. I wouldn't be surprised if on Halloween night it goes away for good.
That would be awful because not only because Halloween night is going into the opposite of daylight savings.
Yeah, fall back.
Is it happening on Halloween this year?
When is Halloween? Yep. Saturday or Sunday?
Saturday.
So daylight savings happens Saturday to Sunday night, right? Okay, yeah.
My understanding is November 1st. I think I'm right.
November 1st. Yep.
Yeah, it is Saturday to Sunday night, right? Yeah. So Sunday night we'll wake up. Yeah. So that's fascinating. It'll be the Halloween lead into the time change.
Interesting.
And Flo,
thanks 2020.
I don't know how worried you are, but if you're not worried, you should be. So considering little ones that
also
adjust the time.
Also a full moon, guys. Just FYI, it's a full moon. But on the plus side, if there are werewolves that night, they will only be werewolves for an hour less than they normally would be. So there are upsides to this that you just really need to consider.
Well, as far as the undead goes, I just verified on both the browser and on the app, and my Google Play Music still works. So I'm going to use it up until the very last minute. So,
yep, mine is still working as well. I do realize though, like I think I've been tearing off the Band-Aid. Like the last however many times I've gone to play music, I have used YouTube Music just to like force myself into the habit of it and everything. Yeah. And then of course the Google Home, it doesn't even play from Google Play Music anymore. It always plays from YouTube. Yep. And you know what's stupid about that is that every once in a while you do like we've talked about many reasons why it's stupid, but sometimes like we'll play a song and you're getting the video because at the end of the song it's like part of the hook from the song comes back, which is like played over the top of when they have something on the screen that they want you to click. I'm just like just like this reminder that I'm not getting like the best music version of this song. I'm getting like the YouTube version with the like post roll on it. Like,
you're getting the free CD that comes with the McDonald's Happy Meal version. That's what you're getting. It's purely promotional. There's no heart and soul in it. I feel you. I will say this whole movement has just what's been happening to Google Play Music has really caused me to think about my own music consumption and the fact that what I'm consuming, I don't own.
Yeah.
The music I own stops at a very severe point in my timeline. And so I'm trying to get back to that. I have actually been buying MP3s. I've been buying I've been buying albums. I forgot what they're called.
Yeah, careful. But not through Google. They stopped selling albums. So where are you buying them?
Okay. So at first I was buying them through Amazon because I was like, oh, I have all these like free bits from shipping over the years, whatever. Then I was like, you know what? This doesn't feel right. So then I have been buying them through Bandcamp and through Beatport.
That's the way to do it. Yeah.
So that's what I've been doing. Yep.
Yeah, and I try to buy the record, and most records come with downloadable codes. Right. So like Bob Mould's new record just came out, so I pre-ordered that on vinyl, and I got the download code, and so I got the MP3s, and I put that on my Plex server, and that's how So that's my paradigm as well. I'm with you, Flo. I want to own the music.
That's the final stage is the Plex server. It needs to be like completely reconfigured. It's like an extra room in the house where we just kind of shoved everything, like every media file. And we really need to go in there and like, but this is a thing. This is an important part of all this. Is I think this is going to be how Android users are sort of split down the line. I will say it's interesting that something I didn't really take into consideration is the Apple stuff, the Apple streaming, Apple Music. I even found out that Apple TV Plus is available on the Roku, so you don't have to have an Apple TV device to watch it. Like I missed that part.
No way, really?
Announcement.
So
I've been doing it on the Chrome browser full screen on the monitor, so it's to watch it because it's no other way to do it.
Right.
I don't have a Roku device, but that's fascinating. It's fascinating. I didn't realize that.
Well, and then I switched cell plans recently, and they're giving me like free Apple Music. And I'm like, I don't need this. I don't use it. But then I'm thinking, Apple, something to consider. Just what's going to come through the pipeline.
Yeah.
What Google could lose from this whole situation. I'm just thinking.
What do you mean?
Well, if somebody wants something a little more standard, like maybe we're finally going to have Android users like considering, finally falling into the Apple trap, so to speak. Maybe I'm taking this too far, but I'm just thinking about the general like ecosystem and just who owns what and who will be able to like contract with going forward for streaming services. So.
Well, yeah, there was also news that Apple TV app is coming to the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5. Scooter X, thanks for the reminder on that. So yeah, Apple's been opening that up.
They have to because they're. I mean, part of it is because their strategy didn't work. Like that's why they extended the free subscriptions. They offered a year subscription if you bought something, and that was gonna be up in November, and they extended it to February. Like they're deathly afraid of people bailing after they have to pay for it, and also they limited, and not everyone bought Apple TV devices. And so if you don't have that, you can't get them the content if you can't deliver to them. This is the same. I mean. By the way, we probably should have included it in the apps segment. I didn't think about it till just now, but you saw the news last week that Quibi is shutting down.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And like it goes back to the argument we were talking, the conversation we were saying about Quibi, which is that like, cool, you launched a video content app that doesn't have Chromecast, that doesn't have a Roku app, that isn't available on Android TV. Like, no wonder you failed, right? When you want to limit what the consumer can do with your content, you're gonna fail. The only solution for a content play in this day and age is to go as wide as possible and make it as accessible as possible. And so it'll be interesting to see when and if Apple ever realizes that and makes it. Do they make it available on Amazon? And can I get it through my Amazon Prime account and that sort of thing? So we'll see how deep they go.
I didn't mean to derail. I wanted to actually just kind of think about that and why YouTube Music exists now, and thinking about Apple's play and just like what we're doing going forward. But TLDR, if you can, maybe start thinking about localizing your music again.
Yes,
get back to your own hands.
I think we're all in that boat together.
By the way, I should correct myself. The Apple TV app is available on Amazon Fire TV and Fire TV sticks. So they've already started doing that. So there you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Some emails real quick here. AAA at twit.tv. There we go. Ron, you got the first one.
Yeah, first one comes in from Derek. Thanks for writing in, Derek. And Derek says, as I was listening to the last episode, Ron talked about being away from home and wanting to play some music at home. I'm not sure if Ron has 2 Google Homes at home, but I know I do. I also know Flo has mentioned it. By the way, Derek, I do have 2 Google Homes and a very small apartment. And this is where this email gets good. The great part is that if they're within listing distance to each other, you can broadcast the one and have it turn on the other. I've done this several times with lights, and then this weekend with music, it worked brilliantly. You can use your phone to, for example, broadcast to the master bedroom and do something like this. Say, okay, G, broadcast the bedroom speaker. Okay, G, play Smashing Pumpkins. The first Google Home in your master bedroom uses your voice to trigger the other Google Home, let's say in your bathroom, to play your song. And Derek, I have to applaud you, sir, that this is brilliant. And in my small 1-bedroom apartment, I absolutely could make the bedroom Google Home speak to the kitchen Google Home, and vice versa. I just never even thought of that. So I'm dying to try this hack, and very clever, Derek. Bravo. Yeah.
Nested Google Homes. That's awesome. Love it. All right, Flo, you got the next one.
All right, so this one comes in from Jeff D. Jeff writes in, I'm starting to think about replacing my Essential phone, which hasn't been great and actually which has been great. Sorry, it has been great. And actually, it's still great, except for the fact that it hasn't had any system updates since February. Right now, the 6-month-old OnePlus 8 has been price reduced to $599. In your opinion, is it worth it? That is $150 cheaper than the 8T and $100 cheaper than the Pixel 5 or Galaxy S20 Fan Edition, and should still get updates for a while, through Android 13 maybe? But then there's always the Pixel 4a 5G for even less money. What do you think? Worth it for the OnePlus 8? I think it's still Flo's daily driver now, right? Thanks for writing in, Jeff. So I think it is definitely time to ditch the Essential phone, just for a multitude of reasons. But the OnePlus 8, I got to tell you, has been treating me pretty well thus far. And I know that price tag is really something that is you can't pass it up, right? The only thing that I would say is if like night vision and a camera that can take pretty good pictures at night is very important to you, I absolutely think that paying for the Pixel, I think you said 4A.
4A 5G.
Yep, the 4A 5G.
$499.
I absolutely think that that's worth it just for that ability alone. I miss being able to take shots at night, quite frankly. I can't do that with the OnePlus 8. But besides that, everything else about it, I really like. I like the way it feels in my hand. I put a case and a pop socket on it and everything works fine. The design is really nice. It's kind of something really different. I haven't read too much into the Galaxy S20 Fan Edition. I know it looks cool and people are really into kind of the essentials it offers. But you're putting up a lot of phones. It's making it really hard for you to make the decision because those are all, I think, pretty solid phones. I mean, Jason, you have some of these phones in hand. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree entirely with what you said about the OnePlus 8. Through my time with it, and then the fact that my wife used it for long enough for her to realize that was like her main complaint. She was just like, you know what? With the Pixel phone, I knew that I could take any picture that I wanted, nighttime, daytime, whatever, and it would turn out the way I wanted it to. And with this phone, it just doesn't, and I can't stand that. So that was her biggest complaint. So for $599 for the 8, you get the better processor on the inside when it's compared to something like the Pixel 4a 5G at $499, but your camera performance is just going to suffer. They ended up loading that camera with a couple of extra lenses, but those lenses aren't really that useful. The 2-megapixel macro is not that great. And actually I've been using the 4a 5G now for a couple of days. I swapped my SIM over to here after playing around with the Pixel 5 for a week. Now I'm in the 4a 5G, and I got to say, size wise, I actually like this better than the 5. In many ways, I'm actually enjoying this more than the 5 for me. So you have options, and that's the beauty of it, right? The Pixel 4a 5G is $500. So that's actually, you're going to save $100 off of the OnePlus 8 that you're considering. So you got options. Is the camera important to you? If so, that's going to largely drive, I think, the difference between these two devices, in my opinion.
Also, can I just quickly interject and just say, for anybody who's looking to buy a phone right now, can you wait just a little bit?
Yeah. Good point.
Because Thanksgiving's coming up, Black Friday is coming up. You may be able to save like $20 to $50. I don't know. $20 is for me worth it, saving that much, because that's tax and shipping sometimes that you're not having to pay for. So just some things to consider if you can hold out just a tiny bit. I bet you too this holiday season there's going to be an attempt to really offload a lot of stuff, because I don't think consumers have been buying as much. I wonder why.
Yeah. That is such a good point. Not just if you can wait, because and I realize, some people have to have a phone now, so I totally get it. But it's 1 month, and you'll be happy you did. Google always seems to price reduce. Go away, Google. They always seem to price reduce their new Pixels to some degree. So maybe you end up getting, if you want the 5 for whatever reason, maybe that comes down to a price category that you can afford. Or maybe the 8T or the OnePlus 8 Pro, whatever. Maybe they end up dropping down due to a sale. So there are sales to be had. Samsung also with the Fan Edition. There are going to be sales that you're going to want to wait to see. And you'll be kicking yourself if you buy now and then you realize you could have saved $150. So there you go. And now it's time for the email of the week. Okay.
That's never not funny, by the way. It's great.
There's probably one person out there who thinks it's really not funny. Edward writes in to say, I was wondering if you can suggest any apps, free or paid, that place a timestamp and GPS coordinates on photos. I've recently taken a second job as a delivery person and am often required to take photos as proof. A few days ago, I was cited for a non-delivery and had to explain my side of the issue. While I don't have proof of the delivery, I now make sure I take photos all the time. I want to ensure that for the company and for the customer that the delivery was made. Also, after posting about my situation on Reddit, someone mentioned that certain customers try to fraud the system, saying something was not delivered when in fact I know full well it was done. Thank you for your help. It also says, P.S. support your local delivery persons. And thank you, Edward, for delivering things. Really appreciate it, especially right now. I would say first point is to check your default camera for a setting that allows you to embed the location details of your images into the EXIF data stored with the phone. This would be something that, at least on the Pixel, right? The first time you launch that camera app, it asks you for the permissions for location. And you can go into the settings and turn it on or off. I always keep it off because I put stuff out on the internet and I don't want people to, find out where I live, that sort of thing. But that could be useful if you have that on, then all the pictures that you take will have that embedded in the EXIF data. Sure, someone could fake that if they wanted to. There's ways to edit the EXIF data. But I think what you're looking for is just like a second, like, does your boss trust you when you say, hey, check it out? Like, here's the package on the doorstep. Here's where it's noted as being in the location. Like, that's probably going to be good enough, right? Another option here, I did a quick search for an app, and I found an app called GPS Map Stamp. And I'll just say right off the top, you're going to want to remove the ads. It's $4.49 on an in-app purchase. And if you don't do that, you're going to be inundated with ads. But once I did that, it has a number of different ways that you can put a stamp that prints on the picture that you take using the app. And you'll want to look for the GPS template, because with that, it will actually grab your longitude, your long lat data, and it will imprint it onto the image, the time of day, the weather, where it is. It gives you a little like cutout of the map as far as where you were at that point. They have all these different templates, but this gives you, the option to put all of that contextual data on there. And I think that might be exactly what you're looking for. It's just really easy to tap the camera, take your picture, and the picture is embedded with that information. So, I don't know, maybe that'll help you out. And that again is called GPS Map Stamp. All right. That's the email of the week.
Instinctually tried to sing it until I realized
have clips of that. There's no way to sync it up over Skype. We're always out of sync on Skype.
But then what about all those people doing like Zoom desk concerts?
that's a good question.
They don't do them well is what happens.
Yeah, that's true. I was gonna say.
Are they actually doing like multiple members syncing up their music online through Zoom?
I don't know how they do that. That they've done. Like the cast of Hamilton. There's none of that is, from what I've seen, none of that is truly live. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot going on.
I would agree. I think there's some sort of like they might sync it up over one call and do it or somehow, but not over. There's no way.
Yeah, I don't know how you do that. The latency and the lag is always too much.
That's what we need right now. Like, I need a big expose into how this is all done behind the scenes because, as you'll notice, a lot of networks have copied the TWiT method. They now have TVs in the studio because they can't have people in the studio. And I just yell at the screen, TWiT did it first. And...
They're like, you're calling me a twit. Why are you doing that? Actually, they're not saying anything. You're yelling at a TV. Apparently, there are Zoom choirs, according to Logan 5. I just had no idea. Like, I've heard of services for years trying to devise a way for musicians to collaborate online in a live way. I don't know that any of them have ever got to.
They have done it, just not over Zoom.
Latency less enough. I don't know. I'm sure they're doing it. But there's probably some education around
from
that.
This. I want to know how all the internet magic is made.
Yeah, that'll be the name of your show, How the Internet Magic is Made with Florence Ion. There we go. That's the name of your next show, Flo. What else do you want to promote tonight?
All I've got is my website, florenceion.com, and a bunch of little like personal projects that keep coming in and coming out. And some of them you've been witness to, and I really appreciate all your support over the years. And, I hope everybody has a good Halloween. That's really what I want for everybody, because it's on a Saturday. If you can find yourself something festive to wear, or maybe just some vampire teeth you can put in your mouth. Just get into it. Just try what you can. Try your best. I know it's really hard right now, but
do what you can. We're going as 7-Eleven. Well, we're not really going anywhere, but my daughter is going to be a 7-Eleven sign. My other daughter is going to be a Slurpee. My wife, what is she going to be? She's going to be a lottery ticket, and I'm going to be a hot dog.
You're going to be a hot dog? Oh, my.
Going to be a hot dog, because they have the hot dog and a little rotisserie thing.
Oh, I know. Right next to the taquitos. I know.
Yeah. So should be interesting.
Well, I will share my corner of the Halloween world. So my daughter, we got a little hoodie. That's a little shark hoodie because she, of course, loves the song now, and she does the little hand gesture to the baby shark.
Sorry.
It's just a cop-out just to say we're doing something. But the best costume ever is my son we got him a little chef hat and an apron, and he is going as Chef Brockett from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. If you remember, Chef Brockett was one of the bit players that would come on and interact with Mr. Rogers 40 years ago, and that's what we're doing. We're gonna dig deep into the back catalog of Mr. Rogers characers in 2020.
No kidding.
Yeah, exactly. So very proud of that.
I forgot about this guy.
He's do you remember him? He was great.
Yeah, I do now. Yeah.
My son, we have these 2 picture books that are based on Mr. Rogers, and the artist drew all the characters from the show in it. And the kid just sits there with the book and just goes Brockett, 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 and points to him. So we're like, all right,
amazing.
So that's gonna be his Halloween costume. So that's the plan. So
I love it.
Yeah. But at least for me, you can follow me over at Twitter and on Instagram at RonXO. Yeah, there's Chef Rocket. He died in 1995, in case you're curious. Anyway. But yeah, head over to Twitter and Instagram. Follow me at RonXO. And then I just want to share something quick at work that we posted up today on social media. If you're watching on the video, but by day, you might know that I work at Marvel. And we just wanted to share with everybody a friendly reminder to make your voice heard 1 week from today. Make sure you go vote. So if you get a chance, go look at Marvel on Twitter and on Instagram, whatever. You can see the vote asset that we posted today, and encourage everybody to have your voice be heard. So there it is.
Indeed. Important day 1 week from today, not just because we have All About Android.
It's going to be very stressful.
Why does voting night always land on the same night as the show? It makes it so distracting to do the show and pretend like something monumental.
But at the same time, at least we can pay attention to this instead of sitting by and watching numbers turn and just creating anxiety for ourselves. So
Yep. It'll give us a nice distraction.
Yeah.
Big thanks to Victor working behind the scenes to turn around the show tonight. Thank you. It's good to have you back, Victor. Also, big thanks to Burke at the studio for pushing buttons, for sometimes not playing music and sometimes playing music.
I try my best.
Thank you, Burke.
And fail sometimes.
It's all good. We all do. We're human. twit.tv/HOA for Hands on Android. That's where you can find my other Android show. And last week's episode was a second of 2 parts on Samsung's Good Lock customization app, which is so detailed and intense. So hope you like that. Do not forget twit.tv/store, because when you go there, you can find All About Android swag, plus swag for all of our shows. But the All About Android shirts, that's where it's at. That's really the best stuff on this site. We feel anyways. You can also find masks. And by the way, don't forget to wear one. You'll save lives when you do. Thank you so much for watching and listening to All About Android this week. We record every week on Tuesdays. It publishes late Tuesday evening. twit.tv/AAA is where you can go to find the episodes as well as the ways to subscribe. Link out to YouTube. All the ways can be found at twit.tv/AAA. Thank you so much for watching and listening. We'll see you next time on All About Android. Bye, everybody. Yeah.
Caw, caw, caw.
Want more Twit? Check out Tech News Weekly, twit.tv/TNW. Tech News Weekly is a show where Jason Howell and I bring the latest and greatest interviews to you from the people making and breaking the tech news. twit.tv/TNW.